And hey, since you already know who we are, if you listen to the next podcast and you're listening to this one, do we need to introduce ourselves again?
Well, in case you listen to this one first, it is myself, Flying Ryan Go Chris here with you.
And Tampa Motormouth, Joel Verlin behind the microphone, as we are all crazy.
All the time.
And if you listen to that podcast, we probably were, but you absolutely love, because normally you're just talking about, okay, who do you think's going to win this week? Who do you think's going to win that week? What about this person? And then when you have something that just absolutely just hypnotizes everybody, just grabs everybody's attention. And
yeah, it dominated ESPN for an entire day, and I don't remember the last time one event did that. Maybe the perfect game that got missed by
Galarraga and Jim Joyce.
Yeah, Jim Joyce and Galarraga. But just quick, if you are listening to this one first, our other podcast, we kind of start with baseball, because if we didn't, we would never have gotten to it. Just talking about where we're at, what we think's going to happen, mostly in the AL with the Rays.
Both of us with hats. I've got my Longoria shirt, and you're wearing a
Matt Joyce jersey. So
I never knew Joyce. Joyce is your favorite player?
He's one of them. I mean, Zobrist, but I haven't been able to find a good Zobrist jersey. I'm trying to find a gray one, and I haven't been able to find one, oddly enough, and I don't feel like spending a buttload of money on one. So
it's like, okay, yeah, this jersey really looks cool. How much is it? So it'd be about 15 paycheck. Well, maybe not that. It just seems like it when you look at the price.
Yeah, you gotta find the sites that sell them for ridiculously cheap, because they're from the creators, not necessarily the wholesalers or the leagues.
So yeah, it's like you tend to like lower is
lower
better.
Price, better for you.
Because it's like I tend to like gas when it was down like closer to $3 as opposed to now. It's like you wish you had a cheat code like in video games. You punch in lower gas prices cheat code. Up, down, left, right, A, B. Hold both top buttons while standing on your head and drinking some kind of soda.
Hey, now gas is 37 cents a gallon. Yay, we're all happy. But then we talked quickly about the scores of last week, hit on a couple points, and of course the ending of the Packers-Seahawks game. We're not going to get back into it now, but it is on the other podcast.
We already ended up going on to that ad infinitum on the last podcast. So check that one out. That's the Sport Shuffle 926 2012 one.
Yes, and that one was recorded earlier today, and it has all those good thoughts and some pretty unique stories, I guess, from us about that. So we are going to go into our Week 4 picks and
not picking our nose,
and our reverse eliminator. Which a quick update on that is we've both lost the last 2 weeks. So we are going to remain. We're going to keep doing it, but we're going to see if we can somehow.
We now have lost twice on this, so we would normally be out of a real, honest to God, site type one thingy.
Yes, and we are technically 1 and 2 because the first week we didn't do the reverse eliminator, so we're taking our ESPN.com eliminator picks and reversing them. So
I don't know if I should say it if I'm jinxing myself this week. Okay, I won't. I don't want to jinx.
Joel's doing one game better than people like me who picked the 49ers last week.
Yeah,
because we're 2 for 2
I don't want to get too much into it, because anytime it's like, man, I had such a good day in fantasy as a team. I beat the guy by 500,000 points, and then what happens the next week?
You get spanked. Like, I'm not even going to say it, because, but you get spanked pretty bad in dirty, dirty ways. But anyways, as we go into our picks last week,
we didn't do too well. If our picks were a football team last week, what team would we be? Browns?
I'd give us Miami.
Oh, okay.
Because I don't think we got killed. I think we had a lot of close games.
We just accidentally iced the other kicker, but
yeah, exactly. Joel went 6-10. I went 7-9, bringing our season records to 13-19 for Joel, 18-14 for myself. Still early, but 5-game lead through our second week of picks through week 3, and we're going to quickly go through the games and get to our final thoughts from Derek's sponsors, because we really ran out of time in the last show talking about that play. It just dominates. It just does.
It's almost like we took all the normal stuff that we talk about and we replaced it.
Yes. The JKFL, as we're calling it until the refs come back, or at least I'm calling it that. So we're going to go through the games. Of course, the Thursday night of this week, which will have those JKFL officials. the Cleveland Browns at the Baltimore Ravens. Who do you got?
Don't think either one of us are going Code Brown type thinking this week, so sorry, gotta pick Baltimore. They're coming up off the high of finally Flacco is proving that you can be wacko about him. They beat the Pats, and now they have the Browns.
Yeah, the only thing that I would really worry about is a letdown game or the officials ruining it as they do.
Or the short week for prep.
The short week, that's what I'm saying with the letdown. The short week, the letdown going from New England Patriots to Cleveland Browns. But I do think the Ravens will win that game. I don't think even the refs could take that one away. But we've been wrong before. Then Carolina at Atlanta. Atlanta, one of the 3-0 teams remaining. And I don't see them losing to Carolina. Carolina got embarrassed last week, so gotta go with the Falcons.
Carolina doesn't have a can-do attitude quite as much as they used to. And you've got Matty Ryan, who's really starting to tend to come into his own generally as a quarterback. I don't know if you would have him better than an Aaron Rodgers or definitely better than a Drew Brees, but...
well, right now, he's arguably the best quarterback right now. Rodgers hasn't been showing up. Drew Brees and the Saints are over right now this season. He's definitely up there, but I wouldn't put him necessarily as a better quarterback than Aaron Rodgers, but he has played for the first 3 weeks. On average, better.
Kind of on and off.
Yeah, it's been an odd year so far, and I think we all know
Josh
why.
Freeman mostly off.
Completely off. Then we're going to go New England at Buffalo. Who do you got?
Patriots.
And I'm going to agree with you on that one. Just can't see the Patriots losing 3 in a row. It's been 156 games since that's happened, as much as I would like it.
They're expanding the running back by committee now with Tashard Choice coming into the whole crazy mix.
Yeah, C.J. Spiller likely out for them. Minnesota and Detroit. Minnesota pulling the big upset last week. Detroit getting upset last week. Who do you got in that one?
Well, you have to go with Detroit just because they put up a lot of points even in the loss. And even though the Vikings definitely overachieved last week, I can't see them doing that consistently 2 weeks in a row.
No, they are 2-1, but they beat the Colts, which is not necessarily a big feather in the cap, but beating the Niners the way they did, they played the best game they're probably going to play all year, and they still didn't rout the Niners by any means. But we'll go next to San Diego and Kansas City.
Little bit of a surprise, or maybe not. I'm actually picking the Chiefs just because you have the San Diego Chargers, and you never know when Phillip Rivers is going to go crazy.
Yeah, and right now I think that's a pick'em game as far as the betting line goes. But I'm going to go with the Chargers just because I think they're the better team, even though it will be in Kansas City. The next game would be the 2-1 Seattle Seahawks against the 1-2 St. Louis
Or as you referred
Rams.
to them in the last podcast, the Seattle Asterisk.
Yes, the Asterisk. The I cannot get back into this, but the 1-2 Seahawks against the 1-2 Rams, and yes, I know they're 2-1, but I'm calling them 1-2. I have to think they're going to get their record to 500, the Seahawks. But in reality, it's the Rams. But in reality, they should win this game fairly easily. And
can you imagine you have folks out there who have like 8 pages of analysis, and it's the Rams.
Yeah.
And knowing that the Rams will probably win, jinxing us.
Hey, honestly, I think it would be kind of justice for Seattle to lose a game the way they won it last week, to have it kind of taken from them. And then I could stop saying they're a 1-2 team that's really 2-1. The San Francisco 49ers, you got to think they're going to go in angry against the New York Jets. The Jets coming off a win that they shouldn't have gotten. Like we were mentioning in the last podcast, Carpenter missing 2 mid-40-yard kicks.
And that was actually no bias on your opinion at all.
They shouldn't have won that game. If you watched it, I mean, once Reggie Bush went out, you can kind of feel the tide start to turn towards the Jets. However, he missed a 44-yard kick in regulation that would have made the score after the, I believe, 20-13. Jets go down and get a touchdown. They go down and get the field goal at the end of the game.
How much did the Dolphins miss Reggie Bush?
In that game, greatly. I mean, LeRon Miller came in and did fairly well, but besides Thomas breaking Darrelle Reeves' knee with a nice little cutback move, he really didn't show up too much.
How much
they
are
missed
the
him a
Jets
lot.
going to miss Reeves?
I think that essentially weakens the Jets' defense exponentially. I don't think they're as good of a team by any stretch. That being said, they're playing a team that is coming off an embarrassing loss to a team that a lot of us either are very surprised at being 2-1 or are just thoroughly unimpressed and we think, well, they had one good week. So who do you got between San Francisco and the Jets?
49ers.
Yeah, absolutely. This could be a week in the AFC East where afterwards you could have 3 2-2 teams and a 1-3, or possibly even 2 1-3 teams. You never know. But the AFC East is not looking so strong so far. I don't think the Jets can win this game. Tennessee at undefeated Houston.
Gotta go with the Texans. I can't see Tennessee getting lucky 2 weeks in a row. It's just they're the Titans. You have the very, 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 I have to say this a couple of times, very, 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 very disappointing Chris Johnson, who hopefully you avoided like the plague in fantasy this year.
Yeah, he hasn't showed up since he had his 2,000-yard flirting season, or did he actually get it? It's been a while, I'm not sure. But he hasn't showed up since he got that new contract a couple years back. And Tennessee's gotten blown out, and then explodes for 44. Just playing the odds here, I'm going to say they're probably not going to show up the way they did last week. Houston's a better team than Detroit. I think Houston will win this game very, very handily. Very, 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 very handily. To take some words out of your mouth. Then Oakland, when I said this has been a weird year, I'm talking Arizona beating New England, Minnesota beating San Francisco, Oakland beating Pittsburgh.
How many people actually picked, never mind beating, Arizona to cover against New England?
I don't know, and I mean, last week my eliminator pick was Oakland to lose to Pittsburgh. Yours was Kansas City to lose to New Orleans. Both very, very well. I'm thinking mine's a sure thing. I just watched them get blown out by 22.
In most normal universes,
yeah, and it's just been weird. But
aren't your picks are right?
Yeah, and then Oakland at Denver. I've got to go with Denver. They're 1-2. They're equal to Oakland, but it's Peyton Manning. How? I know what he's
the laser rocket arm is going to be back, even though everyone is. He's not throwing well. He doesn't have the arm strength. We can tell it's already affecting him. He's Peyton Manning.
Yeah, I got to go with the Broncos, though.
Me too, definitely with the Broncos.
Miami at surprisingly undefeated Arizona.
Okay, quick audible. Arizona, as I saw him talking about on the NFL Network. Do you think they get into the playoffs like I saw an analyst say that they are? Would that go down as a shuffle says pick?
They're getting, if they can win this week, they'll be 4-0. They're playing Miami, so it's not going to be an easy game either way, because they have a solid defense in Miami.
Strength of schedule, or lack thereof, was pointed out for the Cardinals.
Arizona's beating 2-1 Philadelphia, the Patriots, and Seattle. They haven't had an easy road so far. Some people might say that the beating a 1-2 team like Seattle isn't a solid win, but in reality, their record says 2-1, so it will help them later. If they win this week, I don't see how they can miss. There's not many 4-0 teams that are truly a fluke. 1-0, 2-0, 3-0 maybe. But once you get to 4-0, you've played enough. You can kind of get that feel. I think
too legit to quit type.
Yeah, kind of. But who do you have between Miami and Arizona?
Miami and Arizona, gotta go against the gut. Picking the Dolphins. They have to be ticked off after that game with the Jets.
I think they do too. I'm just worried that Reggie Bush won't be coming back at full strength. I think the Cardinals will take it.
So you think defense better than offense?
I think that it's going to be a very low-scoring game, somewhere around 13-10.
About the same as the Bucks Cowboys?
Yeah,
lower?
About there. Somewhere in that 3 to 7 point spread.
More penalties than points after the first half?
Well, it's a replacement route, so the odds on that are very, very high.
Flag on the play.
Flag on the play. We haven't started yet.
It's 5th and 2.
5th and 2, you have 7 timeouts, and oh, by the way, you don't have to actually catch the ball to get a touchdown.
But wait, okay, and even though if you did just technically not throw the challenge flag, but you had it in your hand, you had everyone can see that you had that challenge flag in your hand, you were talking to the ref, they give it to you, but then you get the timeout back?
But to quote Billy Mays, but wait, there's more! We have another week of them.
They slice, they dice, they make you Julian fries.
Yes, they slice, they dice, they ruin your team's chance at the playoffs.
That doesn't rhyme, but it's
It's more accurate, though, because they probably don't know how to make fries because they don't know how to throw a flag properly and make the call. Anyways, going back to what I was saying, I'm going to take Arizona. Cincinnati at Jacksonville. We got to get away from that subject, or else it will suck us in for another 45 minutes.
Sort of like a black hole when you get close to the event horizon and time slows down. Or like when you're at work.
Yeah. I'm going to go with the Bengals against Jacksonville just because I have no respect for Jacksonville's team.
Yeah, Jacksonville, when you use the term Jacksonville and offense, I think that would be offensive in itself. So, yeah, I think I definitely have to agree with you.
New Orleans, the winless New Orleans at 2-1 Green Bay, who's really 1-2.
So how much is this? Because I saw this question asked today. It's a good one to ask again. How much is this? No Sean Payton.
The more and more you watch this team, the more and more you start to think it's a bigger deal. Because this is a team that over the last 3 years, I think, lost somewhere around a combined 10 games. I know a few years back when I think they won, they went 13-3. Last year, I think they might have been 10-5, 11-5, 12-4. And they've already got 3 losses this year, and it just doesn't seem right that a quarterback like Kevin Kolb has as many wins as, Drew Brees, Aaron Rodgers, Peyton Manning, and Tom Brady combined at 3. So I think at some point you're going to have to start going, Sean Payton's a big deal. And maybe when Joe Vick comes back, it'll be better. But right now, it's ugly.
Borrowing from the Around the Horn show, buy or sell, or New Orleans Saints don't get in the playoffs.
Oh, I'd buy that all day long. It's been proven teams that start 0-2, I think make the playoffs at somewhere around a 12% rate at best.
Some infinitesimal.
And then 0-3, you're essentially, to make a poker analogy, you're essentially drawing on a 2-outer, where if it happens, you are exceptionally lucky more than good. So I can't see them getting in. I think at best they are maybe a 500 team at this point. I just don't see them. I don't see them winning 10 of the next 13, which I think it'll take 10 wins to make the NFC playoffs.
So you're thinking it might be the Falcons and potentially the Bucs or the Panthers.
If there's 2, I think it would be the Panthers.
If there's 2.
I think it would be the Panthers over the Bucs, though I do like what the Bucs are doing with that play every down kind of thing. But
tangenting back to the main road.
Yeah, I think Atlanta. I don't even know what the playoffs are going to look like, and I do have a question to ask you at the end of this. But I'm going to take the Packers to beat New Orleans, put them 0-4. Green Bay can react 2 ways. Either way, they're going to go into this game furious. They can either come out and bludgeon New Orleans, or they can let their anger make their play worse and drop to 1-3. I don't think they're going to drop. I think they're going to go out and bludgeon New Orleans by 3 or 4 touchdowns.
Because it's always better to channel the anger into something positive as opposed to so let the anger control and consume you that it absolutely just shuts you down and all you are is just angry.
Do not go to the dark side, Luke, essentially.
Use the Force.
Yes. So we both agree on the Packers there.
Definitely Packers.
Washington at Tampa. We saw this in the preseason. Washington throttled Tampa.
But that's the preseason, and Tampa's got to be disappointed. I don't know if you could say negative or pissed off, per se, after the Dallas game. But I gotta say they gotta do something at home. Washington. Tampa Bay has beat Washington before. We all remember the Mike going back in the Wayback Machine. Mike Allstott, bam, right into the goal line as time expired. So I think they're going to get a little bit of old Bucks swagger back, and I say Bucks.
I just changed my pick because I was just thinking.
They're calling it audible.
I'm calling it audible because Washington's been scoring.
You're going back to the teller, and you're going. I know I had the ticket for this wager, but I'd like to change it.
Yes.
The game has not started yet.
Yes. I think the Redskins will win just because the Redskins' offense is going to be strong enough to outscore the Tampa offense because Josh Freeman is bad. To be just short about it.
Yeah.
The New York Giants are going to be playing at Philadelphia, of course, one of the big rivalries going on in the NFL now. I'm going to take the Giants. I think Philadelphia's got a house of cards built up with Michael Vick and his
as long as he doesn't
getting the ball to the right team.
As long as Michael Vick doesn't get hit like another 20,000 times during that game.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Giants on that one.
Definitely have to agree with you on that one, Giants. I'm sure we all remember the game. It had to be last year where the Giants just pulled a win out of their posterior.
Yeah, it was last
Giants.
year. And then the Monday Nighter, which hopefully will be less. What's a good word for BS? It'll be less embarrassing, I guess we could go with, than last week's.
Less, I know it's more than one word, but attention generating?
Yeah. We're not a thesaurus, people. We are just men. I'm going to take the Bears to beat Dallas. I don't have a lot of respect for how Dallas has been playing, even though they are a 2-1 team. I think they got high up.
They did not look at like that team against the Bucs.
I think they just got so high against the Giants that they snuck up and beat them. I think they lost to a team in Seattle that's better than them, even though I've been ripping on them all day for being a 1-2 team that's really 2-1. But the way they played against Tampa, and Tampa, let's be honest, is not a team that's a playoff threat at this point, I don't think. They're not necessarily what you call a stunning team.
Even though I'm a Bucs fan, agreed.
And they looked so bad. The Bears are a better team. They should win this game handily.
And especially since I just saw an email that Matt Forte himself, of course it's up to the coaching staff and the trainers, said that he expects to play Monday. I'd still write him on your bench if I were you, though.
Yeah, if you have him. And then we're going to go to our reverse eliminator.
And I'm definitely going with the Bears.
Yes. We're going to go to our reverse eliminator picks. Of course, we have missed our last two official.
We need to reverse our reverse eliminator picks the last time out. Yeah. I know if we can we do that?
Yeah. If we'd have picked...
Reverse.
Yeah.
Reverse.
But, Joel...
Reverse. Invert. Reverse.
Yes. If there's one team you think is going to lose...
I know this is going to surprise you because you stack both teams up against. It's got a good shot of going either way, but I'm going to say the Eagles. As I just said, Vic has been hit so many times, and there is so much expectations on the Eagles last year, and we're the dream team, and then Young was there, and now he's not. And now you have Michael Vick, and it's just like. You don't know. You cannot quantify what this team is going to do from week to week.
Yeah, there's only so long you can pick blatant favorites to win a game and blatant underdogs to get beaten and then lose before you pick somebody that you're taking a shot on. I think we're both doing that because I'm going to take the Cowboys. Like I said, I'm not impressed, but they are playing the Bears. They are 2-1. They are in theory a quote unquote good team. I think they'll come out and lay an egg against Chicago and they'll be right. But it is more of a chance in saying, I'm going to pick against the Browns because they're the Browns.
Especially when you have their owner going, yeah, there's nothing wrong with these replacement refs at all.
Yeah. It's
kind
of embarrassing.
And we have my final thoughts, I believe.
Final
or do
thoughts?
You want to do generic sponsors first?
Oh,
definitely wanting to give a shout out to deli subs. And energy drinks of all forms.
Deli subs, energy drinks, of course, idiots on the road.
Don't forget idiots in the store while
idiots
you're
in
shopping.
The store, yeah.
Like when you're in the checkout lane, you're getting ready, and you can tell, and you're nice, you're putting up the divider for them, and they're basically trying to push you out of the lane because it's just like they drive.
Yeah, it's kind of sad, but we're gonna also give a generic sponsorship to all the outrage, the fan-generated outrage from that horrific play, because
There was outrage?
yeah. And the thing is, the fans have to come together and do something, and the only thing they can do, they can do, is to not watch the games, to send a message, and that won't happen.
Okay,
which is unfortunate.
Now, the one question that you could do with that, breaking in real quickly, is how could you get together enough people who we're all so hooked? We are. It's entertainment. It's what we live for, what we crave for. Also, generic sponsors, phones ringing in the background. That hopefully you don't hear. But we are all so hooked on the NFL that I don't think maybe a week is about how long, when it's in season, that we could go really without paying attention to football. Any kind of football. Whether it's watching the game or the highlights or listening to the endless hyperbole, exaggeration, analysis, and commentary that is 24/7 that we're all hooked to. We're all hooked on. Not hooked on. We're also hooked to.
It's not going to work because fans will not just turn off the TV and walk away. I do think this week there will be a lot of people that will watch their team's game, but nothing else. Which might be enough of a message because we have enough casual fans, I'm sure, that watch an early game, then watch the late game, then watch the Sunday nighter regardless.
Whether you're into fantasy football or not.
Yeah. Now, I will probably record and watch the Dolphins game because that's what I do. I don't think I'm going to watch any of the other ones. We'll see tomorrow night if I'm at home. If I turn on NFL Network and
then you can
watch
hear
the game.
You can hear such... Because am I the only one that anytime you're watching the NFL Network, they come up with something that you're just like, what? Excuse my language. What the hell did they just say? Like, I remember it was one... Not this one. It was one of the last Thursday games where they're talking about... It was something to the fact that he has his Zuzu going or whatever, but they use the phrase Zuzu, and I'm just like, can anyone, and just made up a new word, can anyone quantify what a Zuzu is?
No, it's not a real word, and that'll be our last generic sponsor, is made up words.
Oh, and before final thoughts, you said you wanted to ask me a question.
Yes, the question I wanted to ask is, what do you think happens to the NFL or with the fans should the Seahawks and the Packers end the season battling for a wild card, the 6th seed, with the same record?
When you mean fans, do you mean fans of the specific
fans
teams or
of
just
both
fans?
teams? I know it's gonna, because right now, if they finish with the same record, Seattle would get in, the Packers would not. So that being said, the Packers fans would be furious, the Seahawks fans would be elated. But NFL fans as a whole, if at the end of the year you go, the Packers are not in the playoffs,
I think
because they lost this game, on that call, what happens to the NFL from the fans to the commissioner and the owners?
I think, quite honestly, the entire integrity of the league would be questioned when you have because it was brought up, well, the outcome of a game hasn't been affected by the replacement refs. Okay, now and I know there are people out there that have argued that no, okay, we've seen regular referees have these bad a call as this one, but now an outcome of a game has happened. Now, realize this, when you're dealing with the NFL as opposed to any of the other leagues, how many games in an NBA season, how many games in an NHL season, let's hope they get their spit together and we play, okay, NHL, PA, NHL, that's to you, but how many games in an NHL season, how many games in an MLB season?
Yeah.
And when you take a look at one missed call in one of those seasons, and then you look at the NFL, and you think about how many games are in the NFL,
exactly,
and you have one call. Okay, there were whole bunches of horrible calls during that game. But one could argue, well, what about one of those calls with how close the score was? That one of those calls could have totally altered the outcome of the game, given another touchdown, red zone chance to the Packers, given another red zone chance to the Seahawks, and if they had capitalized, it would have been a different score. But this outcome affected who won the game. If the outcome had been reversed, even though that's never going to happen because, as I said, the Shield, the NFL, they're protecting their own replacement refs, or essentially their employees.
Yeah, for
essentially. So, that being said, if this were to come down to whether or not the Packers do get in or not by one game, the integrity, as you call it, the JKFL, would have to come into question, because when you have playoff seeds or teams get in or don't get in because of one bad call for one bad game, that, as you said in the last podcast, when you have somebody who's not even into sports going, well, that team caught it, why are they saying the other team caught it? The integrity of the National Football League would wholly have to come into question. And not just the Packers, if that was any team, that would have happened as a result. Even if it would have been the Eagles against whatever, I still would say the integrity of the whole league would have to come into question. That's what I believe. The fans, all the fans, nebulous, not just one team, would ultimately, when you had 70,000 voicemails left to Roger Goodell.
Yeah. So we're going to go into final thoughts, and Joel, you can go ahead and lead off if you'd like.
Well, final thoughts, I'll just say, for if you're one of the things that you tend to be as you tend to get older, totally going off of sports, tend to get older, birthdays sometimes can be a mixed blessing. Sometimes you tend to look forward to them. Other times, maybe not so as much. But I will say that I end up getting not only a whole bunch of warm wishes on Facebook, and I'd like to thank everyone who did leave a birthday wish, and belated, and also doing the podcast. So this is the fun thing to do, and I think if you do something that you enjoy, it's podcasting or whatever, that you can say that you're celebrating not only your birthday, because I think as human beings in general, we can put too much attention on a day or an event. Speaking of attention on days and events, the Monday Night Football game.
Exactly.
Hello. And we can do that. We can do that like the media has gotten everyone into a frenzy. We're in a frenzy. And I think you would, getting outside of sports, agree you can have more important issues than the outcome of a Monday Night Football game. And we won't go any farther than that, because that would be different shows and different types of podcasts. But it's just something that we all have to, whether it's a birthday coming up that, okay, maybe we're not quite as looking forward to this, or it's an outcome of a game, or something happens. It's always important to keep a proper perspective on everything. And there's a phrase, and I have to remember this more days than I think I can count, that always sums absolutely everything up, by one of my favorite self-help motivational speakers / authors, John Maxwell, who has said in his book Failing Forward, and I have to take this philosophy and whack myself over the head every single day with it. Get over yourself. Everyone else already has. So that's my sort of nebulous, tangent-y, non-sports final thought for the day. And just to sort of, even though I know it's crazy, and even though I just said we do need to have the integrity of the National Football League called into question, and I believe we do, still, sports, and we need to keep everything in its proper perspective, get over ourselves, and also not turn a final thought into an entire symposium. So I'll let you at this point proceed with your final thought, since I know that yours will probably have a little bit more cohesiveness, perhaps, than mine.
Well, I'm not a big fan of the arbitrary passing of time events like birthdays and New Year's and that kind of stuff that we really don't have any control over.
So you're not like, all right, yay, it's my birthday, if you're like, or a family member's like, all right, yay, it's your birthday. So you're not like the rah 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 type.
No, it's like, here's a card, happy birthday, have a nice day, kind of thing. It's like, yeah, you do what you're supposed to do for that person, but you're not. Oh my God, I'm older. It's, oh my God, it's the greatest thing in the world. It's like, time happened. That's all you're celebrating, is time happening. And the best part
and we're still alive.
And I'll get to mine in just a second, but the best part of birthdays for me is one of my friends, another person named Ryan that you actually work with now. Instead of saying happy birthday, he calls it happy emergence day, because of course that is the day you went through your mother's birth canal and emerged into the world. And he makes it as very scientifical, the way he says it.
I like it.
And, I mean, he'll say things, I'm like, just think, this many years ago today, you were passing through your mom's birth canal and breaking your placenta out through the opening of her vagina into the world and getting your first gasp of there. Congratulations. Instead of happy birthday. That is what I enjoy, because it's not happy birthday to you. It's like, that's reality.
Or like
time has happened.
Or like the getting definitely perhaps PG-13 here. If you've seen the e-card or whatever, like the, all right, you were the sperm that won.
Yeah. Congratulations on your anniversary.
Yeah. Okay.
But back to my final thought.
Back to PG.
My final thought is on. Yes. Sorry. My phone goes off and.
No
I get a message from a friend of mine. How pissed were you? And I have to think of what he's actually asking me about. And I thought he was asking me about the Monday. He was asking me about a TV show.
Okay.
So
it's like when you're like on another line of thought. It's like, what? Okay. I have to get back into this quantum reality now.
But my final thought is how close, because Paul Tagliabue, I don't think ever had controversy to this level, ever. How close is Roger Goodell to being Gary Bettman, or worse? Gary Bettman.
Who's the worst commissioner?
Gary Bettman's on his second lockout in 8 years. Roger Goodell's on the second lockout in 2.
Yeah, because he had almost the entire league last year, and now it's the lockout with the refs.
And frankly, I would rather not have this abomination of refereeing that is ruining the game, ruining the integrity of the league.
Another meme I saw that you would appreciate this. I had a picture of the Monday Night Football game. You don't mind me breaking into your
That's
fun.
fine.
And the same picture is like, well, what do you know? The NHL refs were able to find work. I think.
Well, with how bad the call is, you would think they didn't know what the sports rules were and they were coming from somewhere else.
He's safe.
Yeah, but that being said, I think Roger Goodell, and given the NHL and the NFL are different leagues. One, vastly more popular on the whole. Given
a little bit.
Given my personal views are the reverse of that. I enjoy hockey more than football. It's
you
not
don't
a
just
great
enjoy
margin.
hockey. I believe whenever I describe you, I say you live and breathe hockey.
Kind of, yeah. I have a profession. I have an education, but my life is not either of those two things. But if I can ever get into that realm, I would, and that's my goal in life, I guess. If this never goes further than
good one. That's
desk.
your goal.
Yes, but
you want to light the lamp.
Yes, and then again, I go rollerblading with a hockey stick and fall 5 times. So it's a long way off.
You're just doing your imitation of the Columbus Blue Jackets.
Yeah. Hey, I could. Oh, that's the team I should be trying out for. Not kidding. But how close is Roger Goodell to being Gary Bettman? Given the popularity of the league, fans are already saying, "I won't watch it."
Worst
and
commissioner
they're
of
not
all
locked
sports
out
all time, or worst NFL.
He's pushing it. I think worst NFL is almost a certainty, but he's pushing it for worst commissioner of all time because the fans are now tempted.
Worse
if not,
than Bud Selig during the Mitchell report and all of the PEDs.
See, baseball took care of the problems. They did it long, and it wasn't very quality, but they did take care of them. But Roger Goodell has the fans.
Elkie Cabrera, Martello Colon. Yeah. Hanny.
But they're catching him. That's the thing. The NHL, after the lockout, improved the game, brought the fans back, and now they're probably doing damage, but revenues went up by about 50% over the original. And I don't think they're going to lose the season this time. They are trying to get back into
the think they're going to pull their heads out of their butts?
I think they will. I think we might push the season. I don't think we're going to lose games. I'm still of that mindset where they might take the first 10 games, throw them on the back end of the schedule, and say, okay. I think they might. And just push the playoffs back a couple weeks, kind of thing. Or do what the NBA did and compress it. Because that was the thing. The NBA was a shorter season, but it was compressed also, where you play 3 games in a row. The NHL might be playing 4 games in 5 nights, or 5 games in a week, something like that.
Hockey all the time.
I'm not complaining. I'm not complaining whatsoever. But I could see something like that happening. I don't think we're losing games. But when the NHL goes on a full season lockout and comes back stronger, you realize you didn't alienate the fans the same way that Roger Goodell and the NFL owners. And I do think Goodell's getting a little more blame than he should. But the way he's alienating the fans to the point where they're going, I'm not watching until this problem is fixed. And there are going to be people on that call who will probably never watch an NFL game again. I think it'll be a very small number. But I think there's going to be enough people to go, I'm done.
When enough people, like when you talk to somebody about baseball, and like since the last baseball strike, even though I know we're going in the way back machine, and they're going, well, the last strike, I haven't paid attention to baseball since then at all. And there are people out there, and something like that happens, they're just like, I'm done.
Yeah, that's going to happen. That happened in hockey. It's going to happen in this one if they don't go back. But this one might be worse because instead of just not having the product, they're ruining it. They're making it worse. They're
diluting the product.
Diluting it and almost making it unwatchable. So I guess my final thought is
Goodell
is approaching Bettman level. And when I say Bettman, I'm not misspeaking and saying Batman. It's an insult if someone says you're approaching the Bettman level. You heard every time he awards the Stanley Cup to a winning team at home, and you saw it with the Kings. Or no, you didn't actually see it with the Kings. So I remember this came up. He comes out and they're cheering for Bettman. Usually, they boo Bettman because Bettman is not doing what the fans want. So that's my final thought is Goodell and the owners fix this for a lot of you.
Do we start calling him Darth Goodell?
Darth Goodell? Not too far off. But that'll be it for us. Go ahead and check us out on Facebook. Lots of good stuff going up there, especially
Just Sports Shuffle, especially the
Call It Maybe video. Joel found this on YouTube. It's the Carly Rae Jepsen remake from Call Me Maybe.
It was one of the radio stations.
It's actually very, very funny.
And
Go
then
ahead and check that out. Plenty on there.
The slightly explosive video.
Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff on there, so check that out. Follow us both on Twitter. Joel is at Sports Shuffle.
You are
I am Shuffle Ryan 13. So check us out on there. I'm going to try and get back onto that a little bit more. I just kind of getting caught up.
When you're doing schoolwork, you can't take the book. Put it on your head and it's like syncs like an iPod or iPhone. And okay, do you want to download the entire book into your brain? Yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, so follow us. We're all crazy all the time, and I'll take us on out as I'm me, you're still you, we're still us, and everybody's go. Thank you for tuning in.